We are less than 2 weeks away from the primary election in Utah. 4 Republicans are running to replace Mitt Romney in the U.S. Senate.
But right in the heat of the campaign, one of those candidates appears to be slowing down. News specialist Daniel Woodruff has the story.
From the outside, it looks like business as usual at the Provo office for Brad Wilson for Senate. But inside, it's dark and locked with no one in sight. A source tells KSL this office was a beehive of activity for months. But the last 10 days or so, nothing.
On the Senate third reading calendar,
Wilson, the former Utah House Speaker, appears to be pulling back on his U.S. Senate campaign right as voters are casting their ballots. KSL has learned Wilson recently met with campaign staff and acknowledged his likely loss. Wilson has been polling in third place, behind Congressman John Curtis and Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs, but ahead of businessman Jason Walton.
He on paper looked like a really strong candidate.
Wilson entered the race with fanfare and a lot of endorsements. But University of Utah political science professor Matthew Burbank says in this crowded race, Wilson struggled to stand out.
Particularly when John Curtis got in the race, right? That sort of changed his trajectory.
Now Wilson has stopped buying paid advertising, a development first reported by the Salt Lake Tribune. Wilson's posts on social media have become far less frequent, and when we checked his website, we found no events listed in the final weeks of this campaign.
It's an odd time to be doing this. Usually the only thing that kind of motivates that at this point would be a real severe lack of money.
But Wilson raised a lot of money and gave his campaign nearly $3 million from his own pocket. I reached out to the Wilson campaign, which pushed back against the notion that he's throwing in the towel. His press secretary told me these are nothing but baseless rumors. This type of speculation is not helpful to Utah voters who are faced with making important choices about who will represent their values back in Washington, D.C. Brad Wilson remains the best choice to get our country back on track, and our team is proud of the hard work we've put in over the past few months to spread our message to voters all across the state. Past House speakers in Utah have tried and failed to seek higher office. Burbank says in this race, Curtis, with strong name ID and outside money, and Staggs, endorsed by former President Donald Trump, have made things difficult for Wilson.
He really couldn't carve out a lane that was entirely his own.
Daniel Woodruff, KSL 5 News.
Daniel, thanks for breaking that down. As for the upcoming election, you still have plenty of time to cast your vote. You have until June 24th to mail in your ballot before the regular primary election day on June 25th. In-person early voting has already begun and goes until June 21st.